intro. We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
And welcome everybody to another edition here of Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on the Sports Box here on this Monday evening. I am Paul McCree alongside Big V, Mike Velarde. What's going on this evening, Big V?
What's going on? Happy to be here, still alive after 40.
Yeah, that's right. Your birthday was yesterday. A bunch of us spent it at Topgolf on a Sunday afternoon, so it was a good time. And so now you're 40 years old, so happy birthday.
I asked our CEO one of the COO CEOs if he wanted to come, and he doesn't really play golf, so he declined.
Yeah. He had a show yesterday morning, so his show is always going to be precedent to his friends.
It was actually. He did say that he had a show, and
and he admits that. I think he pretty much.
We could have threw him off the third deck if he would have showed up.
I think he pretty much, without really saying it, does. He doesn't care about his friends, but I mean,
we already knew that.
That is what it is.
We knew that already.
The Sports Box is his baby, and we continue to roll. We got a heck of a lineup this week, though, it looks like.
We do.
So we started off. We're leading off here. We got, obviously, since we're the first ones of the week, we'll get to talk right out of the gate of the 4 divisional weekend games in the NFL. We are down to the final 4 championship Sunday, so we'll obviously get into that. Also, the head coaching vacancies, some hirings already taken place. There's only basically down to 2 teams with the Eagles and Texans, the only 2 teams without a head coach. I'm assuming that will be decided by this. I'm sure when we get back on the show next week, they will have their head coaches. I would pretty much predict, and then we'll talk about the MLB. There's some movement going on finally in free agency. I think we're going to start seeing really the movement here over the next couple of weeks as we get into the latter part of January into early February. I think we're going to have things really heat up. Usually that takes place in December, but with really no winter meetings this year, I think it's going to obviously it's delayed. So we'll get into all that first. Obviously, the divisional playoff recap. Packers beat the Rams in the first game. So
Paul, real quick.
Yeah,
because the news came out, the Mets are getting Joey Lucchesi.
Oh, they are. Okay, so they got another starter then now.
Yes. Musgrove to the Padres, 5 prospects to the Pirates.
So the Mets only get Lucchesi. That's but the Mets have to kick in a couple of prospects, I was assuming, on the Pirates.
I would have to assume so.
Right? I would think. It's not like they're just giving Lucchesi to the Mets without giving up anybody.
Right. They keep adding arms, so we'll see what the Phillies are going to do.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
So so we'll talk about that more, obviously, with the rest of the baseball news. But that just came out with the Pirates starter Joe Musgrove going to the Padres, and the Padres are loaded. But obviously,
the Pirates are getting Hudson Head, Drake Fellows, David Bednar, Omar Cruz from the Padres, and Endy Rodriguez from the Mets.
Okay, so the Mets only had to give up one prospect.
Yeah,
then
that's what your boy Heyman's reporting at right now.
All right,
good boy.
Yeah, so we start off with the Packers.
Yes,
they beat the Rams. Pretty convincing win for them. What was it, 32-18, I think was the final score. They won by a couple touchdowns. And, Rodgers picked his play up in the fourth quarter when they really needed it most. He didn't play a great first half, but he delivered. And, the Rams just didn't have it. Jared Goff, after the thumb injury, and he didn't, Jared Goff, I thought they did a good job with him this year as far as managing him. They were more of a running team, at least evolved into that as the season went on with Cam Akers. Really, the rookie running back really emerging in that offense. He came through in a big way. So, but, the Packers, just were clearly coming in. You knew were the better team, and they were able to get it done against the Rams, who were the number one defense coming into this game.
Apparently Jared Goff and his coach are on a little bit of rocky terms from what the latest news has been. I don't know if it's something internally or he's just not happy with his performance of his quarterback on the field because he didn't really have a good year this year.
No, he did not.
Number 1 and 2 in picks of that draft. In what, year 5? Struggling to even fulfill their contract now.
Yeah, because Goff got paid as well. So
signed for big money, and now look what happens.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. I don't know, because the Rams are in just in a bad spot salary cap wise as the Eagles are. So I don't know how you can move on from Goff. I think it's just the head coach obviously putting him on notice. Do they draft a quarterback to put him on notice? I wouldn't be surprised if they. Yeah. I don't know what draft picks they have, because obviously I know they made some trades the last couple of years, so I don't know for sure if they have their first round pick. I think they do. But I thought it was a good head coaching job this year by Sean McVay, but I just think they're still missing, obviously Goff isn't that, when it comes to the big spots in the playoffs, he's just not that quarterback. It doesn't appear. I think they have, for the most part, I think they have solid weapons, and they certainly have the defense. But, we'll see now. Their defensive coordinator gets hired by the Chargers the next day, Brandon Staley. So as the head coach now there. But we'll see what happens. But the bigger news is obviously the Packers going to the NFC Championship game for the second year in a row. Rodgers is having a phenomenal year. Probably will win the MVP when it's all said and done. He threw for 47 passing touchdowns this year. I think 50 overall, 51 overall. He's having, you could pretty much say, his best statistical season of his entire career. And even without looking at the stats and just watching him play this year, you would probably say that, that verifies at 37 years old. It's incredible. And it's going to be a great matchup. And with first time in the playoffs, Brady versus Rodgers. So it will be a heck of a showdown, to say the least, next Sunday, or this Sunday coming up. Yeah, and it's hard. Listen now. Yeah, Jordan Love getting picked by the Packers in the first round. The Utah State quarterback. Yeah, should the Packers have taken a receiver at 26? I don't know. Jordan Jefferson was off the board at that point. Or Justin Jefferson, was off the board at that point. I guess they could have. I don't know. But I don't think you could really. What Matt LaFleur has been able to do was the 28-7 now, counting the playoffs in his first 2 years of his head coaching career. That's pretty damn good that he's won 28 of his first 35 games of his NFL coaching career. So he's obviously doing something right. Rodgers left in bad terms with Mike McCarthy. Things did not end well there. It looked like Rodgers somehow regressed as a quarterback when McCarthy was coaching. They weren't on the same page at the end. LaFleur comes in last year, and there were some of the same struggles early on, but they were winning games. And this year, though, the offense was high flying, and it continues to be that way. And it's hard saying we will see aliens walk down Fifth Avenue before we see Love play.
Well,
I mean, he's not going to play next year. So, and
I don't know. I just don't understand what front offices think of. Do they try to be smarter than they have to be? Like, why spend a draft pick on a quarterback? Do they think it's going to be a Favre Rodgers replica? Like, sit there 4 years and wait?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. It's a rare happening, and it happened once with the Green Bay, obviously, and they, pushed Favre out the door. Rodgers took over. Favre did not retire. He went to play for the Jets for that 1 year, right?
Yeah,
and then he played for Minnesota for 2 years in his career. So, yeah. Right now, Rodgers has responded in that you're not pushing me out the door like you did with Favre. So
right.
That's basically what it comes down to at this point. But not only obviously the offense is the big talk of this, but the Packers defense has settled in this season. There were some concerns early on about, especially their run defense was not performing very well. Dalvin Cook had that huge game early in the season against them. I think he run for 4 touchdowns or something against them that 1 week. But they settled in. Mike Patton was kind of put on the semi-hot seat coming in this season, especially the performance in the NFC Championship game last year against the Niners who blew them out. So the Packers have some demons to exercise here this week coming up because they've lost 3 consecutive NFC Championship games. Now, all those games were on the road, so it was a little bit different. This one, they finally get on their home field. They do get 10,000 fans.
Yeah.
So it's a different circumstance, certainly, this time. I think this time it certainly feels like the Packers are in good position to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time in a long time, over a decade now. So that would be huge for them, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, last night, I don't want to say, "Oh, I told you so," but we really didn't talk about it that much, but we thought. I think a lot of people thought that the Bucs could win that game outright last night.
Yeah,
I feel like the Saints are a very old team. I feel like Breeze has regressed a ton this year. Even after he had the rib injury, couldn't throw the ball long very often. And
that was a problem before he got hurt, though. Was
the
arm strength?
Even after the rib injury, he couldn't throw the ball far anyway. So, I thought that, especially with Taysom Hill being out, I thought that was a sucker bet. If you loaded up on the Saints, that was something that Vegas wanted you to do.
Well, a couple factors coming in that obviously helped the Bucs was, you lose 2 games in a regular season against them. Anytime you play a team a third time, the advantage goes to the team that lost the first 2 games because you have to figure it's just tough to beat a team 3 times in one season. And I'm not saying the Bucs are a great team by any means. They certainly yesterday were able to take advantage of those mistakes with Breeze, throwing 3 interceptions. Would they force 4 turnovers overall?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Garrett Cook fumble.
Bucs, 3 of their touchdowns were on those basically 20 to 30 yards in. They didn't have to go long fields to score those touchdowns, but that's kind of the idea when you're playing the Saints. Saints were top 2, top 3 defense coming in. You weren't going to drive 90 yards down the field against the Saints. Right. I mean, they are a pretty good defense. So the Bucs, did what they had to do defensively. They certainly have risen to the occasion. Really, they hit that stalemate that week before the bye when they lost to Kansas City at home. They made a little bit of comeback at the end to make it interesting, but they were. Remember, Tyreek had 200 yards receiving in the first quarter in that game. That's how ridiculous that was.
I think Brian T is going against your point here about the third time. So teams that win 2 win the third 71% of the time.
Well, you can shove that out the window. I wasn't going to say I wasn't going to say something curse or anything about that.
And Ryan Havermill will love this, that Jeremy's picking the Packers to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
Mush Central. It is. Well, at least it wasn't 2 from the same conference, Jeremy. So
yeah, thanks, Jeremy. If you have to tweak your prediction, we'll allow you next week because I'm sure now both of those teams are going to lose this week. So it's going to be Buffalo. It's going to be Buffalo versus Tampa Super Bowl.
Honestly, though, not to get to the other game so fast, but how do you not love the Bills right now? As just a fan of the NFL, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, what they're doing, it's just. I love it, and I like the Brown story too. But the Bills have captivated the NFL, I think, this year with their, Bills Mafia, and their show after they win, they're showing people going through tables again. I love it. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great to see Buffalo back into this spot. The fan base has always been a rabid fan base, and you're getting to see that. Obviously, they're only allowed to have 6,500 fans, but it seems like by watching that game on Saturday night, it still seemed like it was pretty electric for only 6,500 fans. Listen, that was defensive struggle, 17-3 final. The pick six was the momentum changer. Late in that game, that was late in the third quarter. But Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals early in the game. The win was a factor. And it just was not the Ravens' night. Jackson didn't play that well. He was able to get some yards with his legs, which he's always able to do anyway, but it always comes down to, is he able to make enough plays with his arm? And he was able to do just enough last week against the Titans in that type of game. But not this week, as Buffalo was the better team, and Buffalo, give them credit. 2 home wins in the playoffs against the Colts and the Ravens, and now they move on to play Kansas City this weekend. And we now know with Kansas City, that will be interesting to see this week whether or not Mahomes plays in that game.
Well, if he doesn't play, that line's going to shift.
What is it? It's 2.5, 3 already, which is kind of already
at that point.
Already one of the lowest Kansas City spreads of the season. Kansas City seems like every week is at least 6. I think yesterday they were like 8.5 against Cleveland. Cleveland, give them credit. They hung in there. It didn't look like it was going to be close. It was 19-3 at the half.
Yep.
But in the second half, they made some plays finally. Even after Mayfield threw a pick early in the second half, Kansas City settled for field goals as opposed to touchdowns yesterday. That was another big thing. Then Mahomes gets rocked. They didn't say it was exactly a concussion. He was in the protocol.
Yeah.
There was a report that said that he actually almost had a passed out feeling because he was choked. I guess in a skirmish type thing.
It didn't even look like he hit his head.
No, it looked like maybe a little bit of a whiplash, maybe, but his head didn't. It wasn't like it wasn't a helmet. It didn't look like his helmet slammed the ground either. So, that was an interesting what happened there, and he obviously didn't look right. They had to take him out of the game. When he didn't even seem like he knew where he was at. So. That's it will be very interesting. All eyes on that. I don't, if he's able to be cleared to practice, by Wednesday, that's obviously big for them.
Yeah.
But if they're in a situation where he's still in the protocol Wednesday, Thursday, then you're talking about a very interesting situation. Now, Chad Henne came in and he did throw a bad interception, but he didn't. Andy trusted him in that 4th down play. I mean, that was a big decision.
I love that kind of stuff.
I like it too. I think
you don't want to give the ball back, and you have a chance to lose if you give the ball back. I mean, the momentum is in your hands. I mean, with Chad Henne, you got to have a big pair to do that. And Hav has conceded the rest of the season because of Jeremy's pick.
It's just. I know some are going to say with that decision that Kansas City should have punted, and then you pin them down, hopefully inside the 10 because you are around midfield already. Anyway, so my in moment feeling was I thought it was a good time to go for it. Listen, you have those players. You still trust those players to make those plays in those spots. With all the weapons they have. Whether it is Tyreek Hill, Kelsey. I know Hilaire didn't play yesterday, but you still have, Le'Veon Bell and, you still have, Darrell Williams and some of those other running backs. They have a bevy of weapons, obviously, and that's why they're still the favorite to win this all again. But, now if their quarterback can't play, then obviously it's a whole different ball game. Chad Henne's a backup quarterback for a reason, always has been, as a journeyman. And, it's going to be interesting if he gets the call. It's a huge advantage for Josh Allen, who is playing right now in a very close, similar type of play as Mahomes is anyway. I'm not saying he's better than Mahomes, but he certainly has had that type of season as well. And some of the things he does, some of the throws he makes reminds you of Mahomes. They have very similar type arm strength. They throw from different platforms, off balance, stuff that you really wouldn't teach young kids how to throw a football. So, quarterbacks, and no, don't do what Mahomes and Josh Allen are doing because, they're just that talented. They can get away with that, right. You got to start from scratch. But, that's going to be interesting. That's the second game on Sunday. That's the late game. That's the 6:30, 6:40 game on Sunday night with Buffalo going to Kansas City. And obviously first one, Tampa and Green Bay. So I don't think I'm surprised. Really, you can't be surprised. Tampa is the only they were the team that won the 2 road games. So I guess from that standpoint, obviously underdogs in a sense, but I don't think you can be surprised when you have Tom Brady as your quarterback that you got to the spot. So pretty much status quo, and we'll see what happens in these 2 games on Sunday.
Yeah, I really like. I think the ball's in Green Bay's favor. Just not the way Aaron Rodgers is playing or anything like that. I just think that their defense is really good right now. It's on grass.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna benefit them, I think, more than it will Tampa Bay. Even though Tampa Bay plays on grass, I think the turf helped them this last week. And listen, they limited Kamara and the offense. For Michael Thomas not to have a catch, it's telling you something about the defense.
Yep.
So I really do like Green Bay this week. I really think that they can get it done. I do expect them to get it done. I just don't know if Tampa Bay has enough to get there. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Brady's certainly going to have to probably throw for more than he's going to have to throw for more than 199 yards, you would think, this week in order to win. Because I would have to think Rodgers is not going to make those mistakes that Breeze made. So to think that Rodgers is going to turn over the ball 3 times when he doesn't turn over the ball 3 times in like a half a season, and I think he only had 5 interceptions this year, then that goes to show you it's going to be a long shot for them to turn over the ball like that.
That's a great assessment right there. When Allen got Diggs, that was just like McNabb getting T.O. And we saw that one year what T.O. did, honestly. And Diggs needed that quarterback who was going to throw him the ball 130 times, whatever he got this year. Cousins wasn't the guy. Cousins was not the guy who was going to do that for him. They had all their weapons as well. Thielen was getting a lot of passes. Rudolph was getting some passes. But Diggs is the man in Buffalo, and he's showing it this year. Every post game they do, they're together. It's almost like they're a couple.
And you would have to think that the difference between this relationship is you would think that Diggs is not going to command more money because he already did get his money.
Yeah,
and he's not going to have a falling out in that locker room. So I don't think he's going to pull a TO. And I think he's younger than when the Eagles got T.O. T.O. I think was like 31, 32 when they got him,
Yeah.
and Diggs is 27. So he's got at least 5 or 6 very good years left in him. You would think.
Sportsbox Yo Tone says all 4 games lacked excitement. It was kind of disappointing, which it was.
It did.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that everybody in the night game was looking for the 34-31 game.
Yeah.
Where it was going to be offensive explosion and back and forth, Breeze and Brady, and they didn't get that. And I think, honestly, I want to see Buffalo beat Kansas City. I do. I think that would be exciting. I think that it would be a great Super Bowl to see Buffalo versus Green Bay or even Tampa Bay. But I'm rooting for Buffalo the whole way here. Ride it along.
Yeah, I agree though with the games. I mean, Kansas City and Cleveland ended up being kind of you didn't know what was going to happen at the end. That was the only one that you thought in the final 2 minutes you didn't know what was going to happen, especially with Chad Henne in there. But they were able to pull it out and hold off Cleveland's effort to try to make a comeback there.
Yeah.
So now, so we'll go. Let's get into the head coaching news now. With the only 2 vacancies left, obviously, head coaching carousel. So
the 2 undesirable jobs in the NFL are still left for grabs. Go figure.
And Houston's even more undesirable because you have a disgruntled quarterback for sure, and Deshaun
who wants out.
Who says
this might be a first-year head coaching job for somebody taking this job. I don't see a veteran head coach coming in and trying to take this job.
I'm sorry though with Watson. I know obviously Clemson and obviously delivered national championship, but I don't agree with him.
Another loser from Clemson.
No quarterback normal. I don't remember a quarterback ever having control of who their GM's going to be.
Well, listen, in his
even if the owner said something.
In his defense, dude, they traded his number 1 wide receiver away for nothing, pretty much. They didn't even get back what they should have gotten back for him.
David Johnson.
All of his weapons are getting taken from him. They're not reloading anything in his favor. Dude, the head coach was a disaster the last 3-4 years, and he was the GM making all these moves. So the guy wants somebody here that he wants. He wanted Saleh, from what I read. He wanted Saleh to be the coach.
The head coach, but obviously they had to choose their GM first.
Well, and he didn't like that either.
Nick Casario is
Nick Nazario?
No, yeah, sounds like it. Casario.
I wonder if he makes would he pick Josh Sweat for the Texans?
He's a Patriots personnel guy, and the Texans were interested in him 2 years ago until, for whatever reason, they thought it was a good idea to have Bill O'Brien, the head coach, basically calling those shots, and now he's no longer here. So, yeah, I mean it's odd because you don't even hear anything with Houston as far as who they're connected to. You always hear leaks about who's interviewing here. I mean, how many names have we heard with the Eagles? Like, it seems like 25 coaches have interviewed for the Eagles already. 25 candidates.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
I'm assuming it's less than that. But, I mean, today I think we had Todd Bowles come in.
Yep.
Because they allowed NFL relaxed the rules, which I'm fine with. Playoff teams, candidates allowed to interview, and I guess this was obviously the Monday, after, before obviously game planning and all that starts, I think tomorrow, that they're allowed to. So that made sense that why Bowles stuck in there and interviewed today, but he's not going to get the job. It sounds like right now McDaniels had a long interview yesterday, and it sounds like I don't want to say he's the front runner, but it certainly seems like he's moved ahead as one of the favorites now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the way it sounds. So Eric Bieniemy, I think, was supposed to interview today. I didn't.
Bieniemy is not on their head coaching interview list. That's what I just read.
Wow. Okay, so it was reported earlier this week that he was going to. I think it was something about his agency that represents him said something about no African Americans hired this round again.
Yeah, I think so.
Saleh is a what's he, Lebanese or something like that?
I'm sure.
Yeah, he's got like some Arabic background, I think, but no African American. There's been guys interviewed, but once again, I mean, yeah, there is obviously a shortage of African American head coaches in the NFL, but I don't know what else you want them to do as far as, I mean, you're interviewing these guys, you're giving them a shot. If they're not
Right.
the right candidate over that other coach,
Well,
it is what it is. Like,
think about this just from an inside, perspective of the Eagles, since that's who we follow. Deuce Staley, okay, this is what, his third time interviewing, second time for a head coach. First before that was for an offensive coordinator's job. You would have to think that at some point, even with Dawkins and Westbrook and Malcolm Jenkins, all these guys coming out and saying that Deuce would be a great head coach. Not that Jeffrey Lurie is going to listen to anybody, but you would think that him being an ex-Eagle on the staff for the last 5-6 years, that he would get his shot. And guess what? I guess he either is not interviewing well, or they don't think he's a head coach yet. So, I
wouldn't roll it out. Yeah.
My whole thing is, man, if they want to bring in a rookie head coach, yes, McDaniels has been an offensive coordinator for one of the best offenses in the NFL over the last 10 years. I get it.
Until this past year.
But, yeah, well,
until this
quarterback either.
Yeah, it's Cam Newton, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. So let's play devil's advocate here. Deuce gets overlooked again. He can't stay with this franchise, right? He can't stay with the Eagles after this again.
Yeah, if Josh McDaniels comes in, he's not here. Yeah, I wouldn't think. You're going to have basically anyway pretty much entire new coaching staff, right?
Well,
Stoutland?
You would want that anyway.
Right, Stoutland, that's going to be a big loss. Stoutland's probably moved. I think, is he going to Alabama again?
Oh, he is? I heard Doug Marrone.
I thought Stoutland was he looks like he's definitely leaving.
I thought Marrone was the O-line head, the candidate. He was like the best one to go there.
And you already knew that you were going to need a new defensive coordinator even before Peterson got fired last week, because Schwartz.
They have to sign an offensive coordinator. They have to get one. So I know if McDaniels is the coach, he's going to be the OC pretty much.
He's going to call the plays. Yes.
But there has to be somebody in that role.
Yeah, I would think, or at least the offensive consultant assistant. I don't even know what you would classify it as, but obviously your quarterback's coach, but obviously he's going to have to bring in a defensive coordinator. And is it going to be Matt Patricia, who obviously was a big failure in Detroit as the head coach? Right. So
defensively, though, how about Todd Bowles? He's interviewing today to be the Eagles head coach as well. I heard he would be a good defensive coordinator, though.
Yeah, but he won't want to leave. If he's not going to get a coaching job, he's not going to want to leave Tampa. That's a good spot.
What I'm saying is these guys are all good defensive coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, you're hearing Rex Ryan's name get brought up again. You're hearing Wade Phillips said he wants to come out of retirement. I mean, these are people who run good defenses.
Yeah, Wade Phillips, I think he tweeted something that he's ready to come out of retirement.
I saw that.
So he 1 year out of football killed him, I guess. He couldn't take it anymore. So he looks like maybe he'll get it. They'll be, Jacksonville obviously hired Urban Meyer. I think, Jacksonville will consider it probably.
Yeah.
Atlanta hired offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. So we'll see. I think Jacksonville actually is going to interview Raheem Morris. So it's a possibility that Raheem Morris goes to Jacksonville to be their DC. Detroit looks like Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I saw that.
The New Orleans tight ends coach, who was an interim coach the year Miami was looking for a new head coach. I think it was the year they fired Gates, I think. Might be wrong. Or maybe it was before that.
They were saying, I was reading a story today that Doug Peterson has apparently been getting offers to be the Seahawks offensive coordinator, but they also said that Adam Gase was getting a look, and they said, how about Adam Gase and Jamal Adams being in the same locker room again?
I don't get those Peterson wouldn't fit in Seattle because Carroll wants to run the football. So if he doesn't have somebody that wants to run the football, then that's Dave Jacobs' thoughts on Todd Bowles. I know he's huge on this Todd Bowles. It's almost like he didn't remember that he was a Jets head coach. Yeah, how did that work out? I keep telling him he's big on defense. I can't bother with these guys that I talk to that they're just defensive heads. That's not how the NFL. A great offense beats a great defense. It just is going to happen. The rules cater to offenses now, right? How hard is it to play defense now in the NFL?
I agree.
When quarters can barely, after 4 or 5 yards, you can't even touch them.
I agree.
It's just, and
I would personally.
Quarterbacks can't get hit.
An offensive coach personally. I do not want a defensive coordinator as a coach. I do not want that. Gus Bradley, a bunch of these guys did not work out.
Now, the only guy that I was for was that's not designated as an offensive coordinator is Deuce.
Yeah.
Deuce is just like your all around. I know he's been the running backs coach. I think he was the assistant head coach title the last couple of years, I think, which has kind of been – they probably did him a favor as far as a resume thing to help him out. But – other than that, my candidates were now it's McDaniels, Bieniemy, which doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Mike Kafka,
Dable would have been fine, I guess. I wasn't big on Joe Brady. I thought that was I don't think he's ready yet. He's 31 years old. He just was in 1 year in Carolina as the offense coordinator, and they didn't set the world on fire offensively last time I checked. I know McCaffrey missed most of the season, so I understand your biggest weapon was out, but I don't think he's ready yet. So that was
before we move to MLB free agency.
Yeah,
we're going to go with our little question of the day here.
Okay.
Baseball question. We're moving on. Here's our question. What occurred on opening day 2017 that had never happened before on opening day? Okay, fans, you are allowed to comment your thoughts. I will give you a clue. This is tough. It's very broad.
This is a clue worthy.
It has to do with a pitcher. Something that occurred on opening day in 2017 that had never happened before on opening day, ever.
A no-hitter?
It was not a no-hitter. I gave you a clue with a pitcher.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be how you're thinking about a pitcher. If that makes any sense to you. I can't really give you the other. Okay, I'll help you out. Let's see. We got a couple comments here. This is sort of right.
Okay.
That is sort of right. So a pitcher hit 2 home runs on opening day. Okay. Do we know who that pitcher is in 2017?
Is it Bumgarner?
It was Madison Bumgarner. 2 home runs on opening day. I believe one was off Zach Greinke and another one was off another person on Arizona.
Yeah,
it is correct.
How many career home runs does Madison Bumgarner have?
I don't know.
It's got to be in the teens. He swings a good.
We'll check it out. I'll get back to you on that.
He's one of the better hitting pitchers in the league. It's a shame that Arizona gave him that 5-year contract, and he looks like he's not even close to what he used to be.
Yeah, definitely.
To this point, good thing the Phillies didn't sign him.
All right, you ready for his? How many home runs do you think he has?
15?
19.
Wow. That's a lot.
He's got 19 home runs.
What's his career batting average?
His career batting. We're going to check right now. All right, let's see. Pitching. Postseason standard batting, career batting average is 177, which is actually good for a pitcher.
19 home runs, though. Wow.
19 home runs, 177. He has 62 RBIs.
Wow.
That's good.
That's impressive.
Good. In 2014, he had 17 hits. 2015, he had 19 hits. And 2016, he had 16 hits.
Huh.
He hit 5 home runs in 2015. That's great. And that was also the year he won the Cy Young. Did he win the Cy? Yeah, he won the Cy Young that year. Let me see. Oh, no, he was. Oh, it tells you when it was sixth. He was sixth in the Cy Young voting that year. Made the All-Star team, and he won a Silver Slugger for, I guess, a pitcher.
Okay.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. Great. He's never won a Cy Young.
I guess all those years.
Fourth was his highest in 2014.
All those years with Kershaw in the league.
The highest has been his fourth, though, and he finished in 16th in MVP voting in 2000.
But we know that Bumgarner's postseason resume beats Kershaw's. Kershaw finally got his ring this year, but Bumgarner, World Series MVP. In 2014, he had that incredible postseason where, that Game 7, he came out of relief after he already won, I think, 2 games before that, and pitched tremendously in that Game 7 win for the Giants' second. Right? No, that was their third World Series in 5 years. So they won 2010, 2012, and then 2014. So that was their third World Series.
Bumgarner's 8-3 in his postseason career with a 2.11 ERA, and he's got 3 complete games and 3 shutouts.
Wow,
that's very good. Very good. In 14 games started.
2.11 ERA.
2.11.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I think Kershaw's is like 4.
Yeah.
In a postseason.
He got 3 rings, Bumgarner?
Yeah, 3. But, I mean, listen, Kershaw did redeem himself this year finally. I don't know if anybody really questioned whether or not that this was a Hall of Fame pitcher, Kershaw. I mean, we all see he is. He's a Hall of Fame. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer when it's all said and done for him. And his career's not over, so you figure that he's just going to add to his resume. Obviously, I think the best dominant years of him are over. But still showed this year an abbreviated season in the postseason. He's still one of the top 5 to 10 pitchers in the league. He might not be the best anymore, but he's definitely still one of those top 5, 10. But what he was able to do this postseason finally, I think earned him, what they needed to do finally.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, obviously we opened the show with Joe Musgrove, Pirates, and that was a rumor going into the offseason that he was on the move. And the Padres added their 3rd pitcher via trade this offseason. Back a couple of weeks ago, this was towards Christmas, they got Blake Snell and Yu Darvish, I think, in a matter of just a couple of days. And they just added Musgrove to go along with who they already have, and Chris Paddock.
Paul, before you keep going, we got a couple things here. Medio said World Series MVP. I believe he was World Series MVP that 1 year.
2014, that was the year I was talking about when they beat the Royals.
Chris Wilson said, are the Phillies getting JT? It's a fair offer. I say yes. Listen, not to cut you off, Paul, but if it's going to be right around $100 million, that would be fantastic. Okay, better than 125, whatever they were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
if you can get this guy for $20 to $22 million a year, it'd be great.
For sure. Yeah, and I think listen, the Phillies are handling this. At first we were freaking out because they didn't make an offer, and they got to the point where he went to free agency. But I think you also had to realize that, listen, this is obviously a very unique time. Really, nobody is spending money right now. What's he saying?
Ricky Moriello said, Jesus, you still have a gig here at this point?
Yeah. Welcome to planet Earth, Rick. Yeah. I know you're so concerned about St. Joe Academy. So
Wow.
welcome to the show.
We're taking shots at St. Joe Academy.
And your tremendous real estate resume to go along with it.
Ricky, I wouldn't take shots at St. Joe Academy. I'm telling you, you're my boy.
I'll take shots at him. I don't care. But what was I going to say about now that he rudely interrupted me?
JT.
JT. Yeah, I mean, the Phillies don't want to bid against themselves. So, I mean, I think right now the other team that I thought I saw them connected to or the Nationals talked to him, but I think that was kind of some of the agent maybe driving up, some, of just a little bit of conversation is like huge interest, so right. I don't think that's much to do with anything. The Mets, got their catcher and James McCann. They signed him for 4 years, $40 million.
Yeah, once that was done, JT, I think, was pretty safe as far as them not wanting to spend the money.
And I think the Dodgers, I think they like their catcher, right? Is it Will Harris?
Yeah.
Their catcher?
I believe so.
I think they like him. The Yankees, I don't think are really, they're like $200 million right now on the payroll. I think the luxury tax is $210. So they're already saying they don't want to go over that. So they signed Kluber this past weekend, 1 year, $11 million, Corey Kluber.
Jack Fritz, WIP producer, who we had on our show, tweeted today that he wants Sonny Gray. I don't know if he's available.
He won't be available.
But I tell you what, he's had a great last 2 years.
He did. After he left the Yankees, yeah.
No. Yeah,
I think he's just one of those players that needed to get out of the big market spotlight, and he
picked for the Reds.
and he thrives with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Phillies don't have the prospects to give up for him, so I don't think there's even a match there. Even if I know Luis Castillo, their other starter, was being discussed. There was a report that the Yankees were getting set to trade him, but then
he had a bad year this year.
That was not true. And I think John Heyman said this morning that it was, Cincinnati wants Kluber Torres, and we know that the Yankees are not going to give up Torres, even if he is struggling a little bit at shortstop right now.
Well, they ain't giving up anybody who's any good, you know that.
No, he's got a great bat. I mean, you still want to keep his bat in that lineup. But yeah, I mean, you look right now, George Springer looks like he's going to sign this week. A decision's nearing. It looks like it's the Blue Jays and Mets. I know there's always that mystery team where you hear in baseball where you just, somehow they come out of the weeds, but it looks like the Blue Jays who want to somehow spend money. I guess the pandemic didn't hit Canada. So I guess they're ready to spend some money. I guess they got some good revenue from their time in Buffalo this year. And they are in the mix, and we'll see if the Mets aren't done, I would think, even though they've kind of hinted that they don't want to go over the luxury tax either. I think they're about 32 under right now, 32 under. So they have some room to still spend a little bit more if you believe in that they have a cap. We don't know. We don't think with a $14 billion owner that they should have a cap. But is that incredible that he is the richest owner by like $12 billion or $13 billion?
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple of billionaires. There's I think Middleton is like $2 billion.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But he's crying poor.
Of course. Well, these guys are all – they just want that luxury tax. They don't want – I don't know what that does for an owner, but apparently they don't like it, that they hit that threshold.
Yep. So I think things are going to start heating up finally. Obviously everything's backwards right now. They didn't have the winter meetings. Everything's been virtual. You're starting to see some movement, but I think, or what I saw today on MLB Network, that Ken Rosenthal said that he expects a movement here over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, spring training's not going to start on time. I know they were trying to do it. It's just not going to happen. I think the best case scenario is like a early mid-March training start. their concern right now is if they get there, there's going to be cases.
Right.
I mean, you've seen it with these other sports. The NBA had issues. NHL had a little bit of an issue early on. The Stars were the only team that really has been shut down. Everybody else has been able to play.
Yeah, true.
NBA has had issues left and right. And MLB is just concerned right now. And I think they're going to try to hold off. And maybe you're going to see the season start instead of April 1st, which was the hope. Maybe late April, early May. That's what it seems like is going to happen. And it looks like I think they're not going to have a full season. Is it going to be 120 games? I don't think it's going to be 60. I think we're going to see more than 60 games this season. And we're going to end up seeing hopefully partial seating at some of these stadiums. And we'll see if the Phillies end up being one of those teams.
Right.
But, I mean, that's what it seems like what's going to happen in baseball. Just not going to be a normal scenario that plays out there.
I agree with that.
If you are the Phillies right now, who were, I mean, they're not done yet. They did add Archie Bradley as a reliever. He got added, officially today. The Phillies made it official today. I think he passed his physical today. But they announced that late last week. 1 year, $6 million. Back end the bullpen guy probably would be their closer right now.
The Phillies have listed him on the roster of their official roster as the team's closer.
As of right now, yeah.
Yeah, so, a couple things here. Chris Wilson re-signed Didi. I would love that. I mean, I thought he had a good year. I thought he earned another 1 year deal. I think the Phillies might make the same, mistake that the Sixers made with J.J. Redick. A guy you could use for another year. He had a great bat this year. Just like Redick can shoot the three. You need that. You need that type of guy playing shortstop for you. He did nothing wrong, which says you shouldn't re-sign him again.
No, I mean, I think, they didn't offer him arbitration because they were concerned that he was going to take that 1 year, $18 million deal.
Right.
Now he probably wished that the Phillies did offer him that because I don't think right now he's got much of a market either. I mean,
no, he doesn't. But
unfortunately for him, he's not right. But they need a stopgap right now because they're hoping that was it Bryson Stott, the shortstop prospect, is going to be ready by next year or 2023. I don't know, but obviously with no minor league season last year, his development took a shot. But they're very high on him and could be the starting shortstop of the future. But right now, you've heard Marcus Semion's name out there, the Oakland's shortstop who's on the market. Even Freddie Galvis.
Ugh. Just might as well get J.P. Crawford back then too.
Seattle hasn't. He's under control with Seattle. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. I'm thinking old Philly shortstop.
Galvis,
the retreads,
and then you got Semien right now, and then outfield. I heard if they're going to go after another outfielder, the Dombrowski connection with Jackie Bradley Jr.
Benintendi, I heard's a hot name,
which would have to be a trade. Bradley Jr. is a agent, but yeah,
I would take him. He wouldn't be too bad.
Yep. So I agree. I agree because right now the problem is I think Hazley's the fourth outfielder type. It looks like is it doable? I'm bringing up his name right now because he's under contract still.
No, I don't even think he's a question in that even in this new regime.
I guess so.
Did you hear Andrew Knapp's comments the other day? They made me actually want to throw up about how he could be the everyday catcher.
Of course, he would want to say that. What do you?
Yeah, but listen,
he's a competitor.
But knowing that they have a chance to re-sign the other guy who was there with you, you're going to be the wording that he said it.
Okay, made
it sound like he's the catcher next year. Like, so if Realmuto gets signed again, he won't play. So
he'll be the backup. He'll start.
And that's all he is. He's nothing more than a backup catcher.
Yeah, he's a solid backup catcher. That's fine. No, but I don't think anybody's planning on him to be a starter.
I would hope not, because if he is, we're in trouble.
Yeah, right. I agree. And then they're still going to have to add a couple bullpen arms. I think they could use another starter But I think we're all asking for too much at this point. I mean, they're already strapped as it is. I mean, I think they could. It was $6 million. Spending $6 million sounded like a big deal. So yeah. I don't know. They're going to give JT the $100 million deal, so that's going to be part of this equation now. Whether they not add like a Bradley Jr. for an outfield spot, or they obviously I think are going to add a couple more relievers before the offseason is over.
They have to. They got to shore up the bullpen.
We're going to go into the season with your rotation being Nola Wheeler, Eflin, and figure it out from there. I guess
it's like the same thing every year.
And it's going to be figured out. I mean, we know Arrieta's gone, so
before we leave,
yeah,
I'm going to give you one question. When's the last time the Phillies bullpen was good? I'm being serious. Like they would come into a game in the Lidge years when they would actually come into a game where you knew he was getting somebody out.
Yeah, that was the last time.
And
so it was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, we're talking 12 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's bad. That's very bad.
Yeah, so
how many more wins Nola could have and these pitchers could have if they had decent bullpen action?
How many games did they lose last year because of their bullpen?
I think Nola alone, they lost 3 or 4 games for him.
I mean,
they finished said Madsen and Lidge. Yeah, Madsen and Lidge were, that was the combination in that 8th, 9th inning that Madsen was very good that year.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I mean they finished 20. They somehow still finished below 500, 28-32.
Yeah.
They lost 9 of their last 10 or 8 of their last 9. Like they could have still made the playoffs on the last day of the season because the Brewers didn't want to make the playoffs either.
Yep.
So so that's the frustrating Phillies talk of the week.
Yeah.
And we'll revisit this again next week, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's it for tonight's show. Obviously, do you have for the championship games, do you have Packers, Chiefs?
I'm going Packers.
I guess we can't make a decision on the Chiefs until we find out if Mahomes is playing or not. So you can't even really do a prediction on it.
I don't care if Mahomes is playing or not. I'm still taking the Bills.
He's got the Bills winning on the road?
I do. I think that Josh Allen finds a way. I honestly don't think Casey's been, given any type of a look as far as competitiveness in the last 2 weeks. Well, they were off the 1 week, but I want to see a team like Buffalo. If they could defensively stop them, I really do think they could hang in that game and win that game. I really do.
It's going to be a close game, but
I hope so.
I would think. I mean, it's confusing with the Chiefs because they play a lot of times like they're disinterested,
right.
and they're that talented. I guess they can get away with stuff like that.
Right.
But I just want to still get the Chiefs and Packers, but we'll see how Sunday plays out. We'll obviously talk about that next week. And then it's a weird week because obviously it's the week off between the Super Bowl, obviously not being until February 7th, and they're not doing a Pro Bowl. It's a celebration of the Pro Bowl, like a show.
Excellent.
So they're not actually having a Pro Bowl.
Better than the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, right. I don't think anybody's losing sleep. Yeah, nobody's losing sleep of the Pro Bowl not being played anyway.
Right.
But that's it for tonight. Thanks for everybody that chimed in this evening with their questions and comments and ball breaks and everything in between. I am Paul McCree once again, Big V, Mike Velarde, and we will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sportsbox Show, Twitter at Sportsbox Show, Instagram at The Sportsbox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.